Joe Calzaghe was unbeaten in 34 fights and had reigned for 7 years as WBO super middleweight champion. Kabary Salem of Egypt entered the ring as a relative unknown, but he was to test Calzaghe like nobody had. Coming up next on Box Nation Presents, Joe Calzaghe versus Kabary Salem. Welshman Joe Calzaghe found himself in Scotland, making the 15th defence of his WBO super middleweight title. And Egyptian Kabary Salem had narrowly lost to Mario Veit in an interim world title 5 months earlier. In a fight, Salem was penalised for intentional headbutting, a lesson he appeared to have forgotten going into this one.
First fight time in 8 months that Joe Calzaghe has fought. He's had a back injury. There have been some domestic problems in the background as well. His plans to move to light heavyweight, one division up, stuck on the launch pad. The fight with Glenn Johnson for the IBF title went away. Now he's back doing what he does best, defending this WBO super middleweight title against this Kabary Salem, based in New York, but an Egyptian originally from Alexandria. 36 years old, but he turned pro late at 28, a pro for 7 years, and never been stopped in his career to date.
Well, a positive-looking start from Calzaghe. He's commanding the centre of the ring from the first second. Doesn't want this fella coming forward if he can avoid it. So that is obviously his plan. Heads are rubbing already.
And there's been an awful lot of that in Kabary Salem's fight. He's often had points deducted. He slips in his own corner. Calzaghe pounces on him and rams in a left hand.
Well, time for sportsmanship to end when the bell rings, maybe. Take any chance you get in this game.
This is a roughhouse brawler. That's the reputation of this Salem.
Those punches were almost on the knee. That was a disgrace. At least the referee's getting on that quickly. I mean, that was deliberate. It was bang out of order. It was almost on the knee. Both punches.
Well, Paul Thomas has obviously heard all about his reputation and is quickly on the case. Calzaghe with those trademark fast hands of his. With the heads rubbing together on the inside. This is not really what Calzaghe wants, because he's can be a quite lovely boxer out of his southpaw style as well.
And Salem claimed his hands, his arms up close, so he couldn't punch with the right hand. A rough guy, but he knows what he's doing up close. This is his domain up there. Calzaghe, he started positively at long range. He wants to keep it like that.
It's always been a struggle for Calzaghe to make 12 stone for several years. Maybe even tougher now at the age of 32. And remember, he was saying a few months ago at a press conference, light heavyweight was really his division now. But he's had to reassess that. Earns big from this championship, something like about £500,000 a time, I'd estimate.
Well, he hasn't started like a man who's worried about the 12-round distance through lack of steam. I mean, he's right down to business. He's getting involved. He seems quite happy with the roughhouse tactics.
I think he was expecting it, Jim.
But he's actually going looking for it. He's instigating some of these attacks. He's getting up close, and he's giving as good as he's getting up there.
I think that's part of the macho thing with Calzaghe. He's almost saying, look, I can mix with you in that kind of department as well if you want me to. But whether that's smart, I'm not quite sure.
Well, that's the temperament Joe has. If he gets caught with a good punch, he wants straight back and never hits her. And Salem's the one complaining about it.
They're both trying to claim the other one was responsible for that clash of heads. I think we were always likely to get this tonight, weren't we?
Yeah, well, Salem must have been hoping for an untidy brawl, and that's what he's got straight away in the first round. This is not the tactics Joe Calzaghe should be adopting.
Not really got his jab going or anything like that yet. And every time he gets in close, Salem grabs hold of him to try to stop him working. Again, watch the use of the head, says the referee. Salem Islam with a right hand. It's a messy, foul-filled, dirty opening round.
Salem just came back to the wrong corner.
He's furious. Enzo Calzaghe is furious with what he's doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can see, I mean, the first time they were close, he was punching him almost in the kneecaps. He's been rubbing the head in Joe's face right from the off, but I'm surprised at Calzaghe's tactics, and he seems quite as happy. And he was almost as guilty as Salem in there. But Salem is the one who's enjoying this. Calzaghe wants to tidy things up. He's the one with the class.
Yes, he got dragged into the kind of fight. Look at these low blows here. 1, 2 of them. Was there a third as well?
Those are blatant punches.
Paul Thomas could have a busy night, Jim.
Yeah, well, he's got right down to business straight away, but this spell is going to be difficult to control.
Time. Right, the warnings are over now.
Well, he's telling them that the warnings are over anymore, and I'll be deducting points. So that is a reading of the riot act to both boxers to clean this up and get on with having a proper boxing contest.
Well, the thing about the first round, Calzaghe did not allow Salem to get one decent punch off. It was a scrappy, messy first round, but he completely nullified anything that Salem tried to do.
Calzaghe's been told by his corner, his father Enzo Calzaghe, to use his boxing skills here to dominate this man. Reaches in with the left hand, trying to keep it at distance now, noticeably Calzaghe, behind that raking southpaw lead of his.
Maybe Calzaghe's plan was just to give him a rough first round to show him that if it comes down to that, he can cope with it. Maybe that was part of the plan, and he's going to tidy things up now, quite possible.
Yeah, maybe he was just making a little statement to Salem. Delights in the name of the Egyptian magician Salem. He's been called rather worse than that, including the Nile Nutter by this morning's edition of The Sun.
Well, Joe being caught there as he moved back, he's going to have to get his hands up a little bit quicker. If he commits himself, just get caught with the right hand there.
There's that speed of hand from Calzaghe, which made sure the left hand landed. As his training in Brooklyn, has been working with heavyweights and cruiserweights in his sparring in the build-up to this fight, Jim, Salem.
Well, he likes it rough, and you can see he's happy up close, doesn't mind having wrestling matches. But Joe just a little bit untidy with his approach work here. Leaving his own chin exposed.
No shots, come in there, Joe. Watch the shot.
But still doing a lot more, Calzaghe.
Salem's not just as crude maybe as we first thought. He can step back out of range and counter, but real roughhouse tactics.
Calzaghe's got a cut on his forehead, clash of heads. We kind of knew that was going to be in the script. It has been from the word go. How bad is that? We'll try to get a closer look. Left hand from Calzaghe. Good shot, a little smirk back from Salem. Here are the combinations from Calzaghe. He took a right back in return. Looking to take this Egyptian out of there at the moment. Watch the heads again, says the referee. But these left hands are having an effect now from Calzaghe in the second round. Another big one. Then a right to the body. Salem's in trouble.
I think a couple of those shots were inside of the glove, but Joe is so heavy-handed they even hurt the same way the knuckles do. But excellent round for Calzaghe.
Though he did pick up that cut to the forehead, a gash. Frank Platt, who you'll know Jim very well from the Royal Oak Gym in Canning Town, working there in the corner.
Yep, he worked in all of my world title fights, helped me out a few times. But I mean, Joe, I'm surprised at the way Joe has got involved in this. I mean, some of the little roughhouse skirmishes have been at Joe's instigation. I would have thought it would have tidied things up, but this is when he knew, this is when he realised he was cut. That's when you feel it running down, you hope it's sweat, a little dab and glance at the glove, you realise it's not. And that was a good right hand he took See, he's leaving his own chin completely exposed. And this fella is a fair puncher. See, then he's caught again. He's just a little bit concentrating on too much of his punches he's putting out, forgetting if it was coming back. Good round, nevertheless.
I think Calzaghe almost quite literally saw the red mist for a few seconds there. He really started to let the punches go. Here's round 3. Black trunks, remember, the defending WBO super middleweight champion, Joe Calzaghe from Newbridge in Wales, getting a great reception here in Edinburgh. Another clash of heads on the inside. Calzaghe's got something to say about it. And a point off for Salem. Use of the head. Not the first time that's happened to him in his career. He got 2 points off in his last fight against Mario Fight when he was unlucky. Most people thought he won the fight. He lost the split decision. And remember, Fight was knocked out in a round by Calzaghe.
See, I think what Salem does is just what he's going to do, Ian. I think it's so much part of his style, the careless work with the head. I don't think he can stop doing that if he tried. It's just part of his style, and I think we can see further points being deducted.
Well, he does lead with the head, doesn't he? Gets him with the right hand there. No worries about that cut, by the way. Enzo Calzaghe signalled to Frank Warren that the cut was on the top of the head.
Well, he's bleeding, you can see it there. It's just opened up again. Good punch from Calzaghe, good left hand. Just get his own hands up. He does have an excellent chin, but he's certainly leaving it exposed a little bit tonight.
It's messy, but all the good work is coming from Calzaghe in fast combinations, particularly damaging with the left hand. He does occasionally slap sometimes. He's done that all his career, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's because he throws arm punches, which, I mean, it's just as well, because if he used his hips and his shoulders, I think they'd be taking people's heads off. But he's so heavy-handed, sometimes the inside of the glove lands, but even when it does, I mean, it has the desired effect. It's just the way he throws the punch, and it may be why he's in trouble with hand injuries as well.
Salem, by the way, is 23 wins, 3 defeats and a no contest. But his defeats against Eric Harding, one of the best light heavyweights in the world. Now, Antoine Etchers, world-class fighter, he lasted a distance with him, and that defeat against Mario Fight. So only good-ish fighters have been beating him. Having said that, you look at his record, there's no one on there you'd say, hey, that's a great win.
Calzaghe is not allowing him to get any decent work off whatsoever. He's a bit scrappy himself. He's completely nullifying everything that Salem's trying to do. Good right hand from Calzaghe.
He's the one doing the work. A lot of mauling and spoiling and holding from this guy, Kabary Salem. And Calzaghe's all over him. He's showing his stuff. He's hurt him a bit. Covered up on the ropes. He came out leering. Salem, he's got a lot of attitude in there. But so far, he doesn't look like he's got anything to beat Calzaghe with. Not yet, anyway. Well, it's a hard fight to look good in, this one for Calzaghe, but he is dominant, isn't he?
Yeah, that is the thing. He's the boss in there. He's forcing everything. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's better. This is a complaint about the point deduction. But I think it's going to be a case of how lenient or how harsh does Paul Thomas want to be, because this guy could not stop butting if he tried. It's just part of his style.
That's a slip, by the look of it. Just a slip. No knockdown. A lot of the crowd. There are 7,000 in here tonight, out near Edinburgh Airport, a long way out from the city centre. Good venue, though, with a lot of atmosphere about it, I must say.
Well, Salem doesn't have the cavalier attitude that he brought into the ring. I think Calzaghe has really made his point. I think he's shocked at the strength and power of Calzaghe.
Well, Salem was saying that he'll take everything Calzaghe has to offer for 4 rounds, and then he'll still be strong and start to exert himself in the later stages of the fight. It sounds good, but whether he can do that has to be very much open to question on what we've seen.
Well, it seems that Joe's plan is just to get in amongst Salem and stay there.
Oh, he walked into a right hand. Walked into a right hand, Salem there. And just, that went through to his knees. They buckled a little bit when that one landed. He's pretty heavy-handed, Calzaghe. He thinks he'd be even more effective up at 12.5 stone. You just wonder about how tight he is at the weight these days, whether it's a real struggle, whether it might take an effect in the later rounds, but we've been saying that for a long time with him, and he's never shown any ineffects in the ring, really, from it.
And he's not showing it the way he's got right down to work tonight. This doesn't look to me like a man who's worried the 12-round distance. And that was the shoulder. That could be another point. That could be another point, yeah.
I wonder whether this fella is likely to get himself thrown out. He's never been disqualified yet, but he's flirting around the edge. That could happen. There's a long way to go as well, and Paul Thomas's patience might run out. He won't want to do that in a World Championship fight, but if he has to, he will. Calzaghe measures him. Oh, right hand! What a right hand from Salem. Calzaghe is down for only the second time in his career. Goodness me!
Well, Ian, so often I've said he's leaving his own chin exposed, completely exposed, and he's paid the price. But he does have an excellent chin, but he's going to have to get his wits about him.
What next? Byron Mitchell had him down, and he came back like a whirlwind to win that very quickly afterwards. But how much is he shaken up by this?
That was more of a knockdown, that one, Ian. That shook him to his boots. That was bang on the button. It was a beauty.
And that's really going to affect what he does in this fight now. Calzaghe was firing off salvos, and suddenly that right hand decks him. This is different now.
Well, you'd expect Salem to go for it. He hasn't. It looks as though Joe's head has cleared, but he has to learn from that. Far too often, he's left his chin completely exposed.
Just took a liberty and paid for it. Well, he's always been known for that rock-solid chin, but that's a 10-8 round for Salem.
He's at the same time by Mitchell. What's wrong with him? Why are you falling in for? Why are you going searching for the right left hand? Yeah. Look him down. Just work his ass off. Why do you want to get him mixed it for?
Here it is, Jim. Here it comes.
See, it's when he's on the attack, Ian, he just does not think about defence. And look at that. I mean, that punch would have finished half the super middleweights the world today, because that was right on the button. He just doesn't think about defence when he's letting his own punches go. Chin is always too high, but it's not too often he's had to pay the price like that. That was a beauty. But full credit to his strength, his condition, and the fact that he does have an excellent chin. He's come back from that.
You're right. That could have been a lights-out job for a lot of fighters, couldn't it? It was a cracking punch.
It was bang on the button. Couldn't be delivered any better, and a totally exposed chin. His eyes are looking clear. I think he's maybe at this stage more embarrassed than hurt. But he has to take that on board. He has to keep that in mind, his defence.
This is round 5. The crowd have gone a bit quieter here. They're more thoughtful. They're just wondering whether there could be an upset here. Calzaghe has to be a bit more thoughtful. He can't just dive in, stand in front of Salem throwing punches without any regard at all to protecting his chin. That was the message from that exchange.
See, we've spoken about the way Joe throws punches. I mean, he really is a solid puncher, but fighters who use their shoulders roll with the punches so their head moves, but his head stays stationary and his arms do all the work, and he paid the price there. His head stationary too long.
He does have this aura of invincibility, Joe Calzaghe, about him. Always believes he'll prevail. He had the scare with Byron Mitchell, and it was a close fight too with Robin Reed. Remember, in fact, one of the judges had Reed a 5-point winner at that.
Well, that was the kind of punch in that can definitely take a little bit out the tank. Joe's missing badly with the left hand at the moment. Maybe not the same confidence in his work. Certainly a lot more thought, which is good.
There's more caution about Calzaghe. He's not diving in now, just trying to throw single jabs. This might alter his whole fight strategy here. Fascinating, isn't it?
Well, I said earlier that Salem was more of a crude slugger. You know, he had a little bit more in the tank, but Joe wasn't allowing him at that point to show what he had, but he showed it there, and now he's quite happy. He's got the centre of the ring. He's not being bullied the way he was earlier. Now he's having time, so now we'll see how good Salem is.
Did Salem just get a bit lucky with that punch? What can he do? He's not done a lot really to build on that, has he?
Well, I think he's delighted, because I think his confidence was dwindling. He didn't have that brash look that he brought into the ring. Now he's complaining to the referee, which is always a good sign when the other fellow does that.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of gamesmanship. They're trying to pretend all the time it's the other guy. He's claiming a knockdown.
Yeah, a little clip landed, but it wasn't because of the knockdown. No, the referee called that right. But Joe, the initiative has been taken away from Joe at the moment.
He looks tentative at this stage. Calzaghe just trying single jabs and out of range with a lot of them as well. Mind you, Salim's not doing an awful lot himself. As if Calzaghe was shaken up still a bit, he's being given vital recovery time.
Joe has not really found the target in this round. He's been clipped with a couple of counters. All the confidence seems to have drained from his work.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get into the zone, does he, at the moment?
Well, I mean, a couple of rounds ago, he was completely bullying this guy, throwing him all over the place, in the clinches against the rope.
Start, he was winning all the early rounds. Salim had a point deducted for his head work, and then Calzaghe decked in the fourth. Quiet fifth. This is round 6. Black trunks of the long reigning Joe Calzaghe, 7 years a champion.
This is a better start to the 6th. The jab's working. Maybe he just needed a round to clear his head. This is much better, much more positive.
Will the confidence come flowing back for Calzaghe, who we believe is the longest reigning British world champion ever, though Jimmy Wilde, a fellow Welshman, great flyweight, just after the Second World War, he reigned for 7 years as well.
Keep the jab working. No.
The ghost with a hammer in his hands, they called him. Good left hand from Calzaghe that time.
Yeah, there's more of a sharpness in his punching now. Still caution, still thinking what he's doing, which is quite right, but sharper punches now.
What does Salim need to be doing at this point, do you think, Jim?
Well, he has to be getting close, but I mean, his big success came on the counter, so maybe he's just hoping that will come again. Maybe he's trying to draw Joe onto the punch. He's done it before, maybe he's trying to do that again, but Joe not quite so keen to overcommit himself.
The left hand gets in from Kabary Salim, who moved away from Egypt, where he was a good class amateur. He fought in a couple of Olympic Games, World Championships as well. Oh, and another right hand, and a bit of kidology, I think, there by Calzaghe. He was always trying to invite him in.
See, now that Calzaghe's not dominating physically the way he was in the first 3 rounds, Salim has more time to get his punches off and think what he's doing.
This is now a completely different fight, all turned around by that knockdown. It's really made Calzaghe fight. You wouldn't say he's gone gun-shy, but he's gone very careful.
And there's just a stumble.
Yeah, again.
And thankfully, with the style of fight we're seeing now, there's not so many dirty tricks, not so many head clashes. So this is why I thought Calzaghe should have been doing this right from the first bell. Almost hooked onto another one there. When he lets bursts of punches go, his head is far too high, but it's a thing he'll never change. He's too long down the road now to change that.
A bit more open in the early part of the contest. There were times when Salim made Rocky Marciano look like Florence Nightingale.
Calzaghe's not really taking anything out of Salim's tank. He's allowing him to work at his own steady pace.
Welcome back to the Royal Highland Centre in Edinburgh, where there's some concern about Joe Calzaghe here. Look at this, most world title fights by British boxers. Chris Eubank leading with 24, not all in this division, of course. Lennox Lewis now retired with 18, Naz 17, Joe Calzaghe 16 is number 4, but the longest reign in one go, so to speak. There's just a little danger if things go wrong here, that that long unbeaten record that goes back to 1990 when he fought in the European Juniors against the Romanian, but it could go. He lost his balance there after a left hand to the temple. It was only a loss of balance.
I think Joe was actually warned for his head there. What a change in Calzaghe's attitude, not quite so keen now to get himself involved. I think he wants to make a statement to this fellow. I think the sooner he really hurts him with a good shot, the better.
Having said that, Salem doesn't seem to know too much what to do when Calzaghe just boxes on the outside like that. It's almost a standoff at times.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have the class. Any time they've stepped him up in class, he's been found a little bit wanting. But certainly never in strength or courage.
It's becoming hard work, this, for Calzaghe, but he does always find a way to prevail. So far, anyway.
See, Joe has gone from dominating rounds to nicking them with his southpaw jab. I mean, OK, the result's the most important thing, but the attitude is totally different.
Left hand and then a right back from Salem.
See, being caught again as he's throwing punches.
And he's claiming he was butting.
The amateur dramatics.
Oh, that really was. I mean, that was like some of the horrible things you see on the football field. And he's got a cut by the right eye, I think, Kabary Salem as well, in all of that. But you'd have thought he'd been shot with a Magnum 45.
Yeah, that was Oscar stuff there. When you consider what this fellow's dished out in his career.
He's play acting in there, isn't he?
Yeah, but Joe was caught again as he let his own punches go. That's when he's most vulnerable, when he's letting his own punches go. Chin is always too high.
Starting to warm up again. Salem dabs away at that cut. Oh, Calzaghe not far away with that sweeping left hand.
Set him up with a jab, Joe.
Good left hand, Calzaghe. Best punch in a while. Again, the heads rubbing together on the inside.
I think at this moment, Calzaghe's as guilty as Salem, and he's rubbing his head in as well.
Well, the fight he had with Antoine Etchers was described memorably as a festival of fouls. The Salem fight with Etchers, but Calzaghe, I think you're right, Jim, he's giving as good as he's getting in that department at the moment.
Yep, I think so.
I suppose that's the attitude you have to take if you're in with a fighter like this.
Yeah, well, you don't complain to the referee. I mean, a couple of times Salem has complained, but Joe never has.
The excitable Nettles Nasser is the shaven-skulled fellow on the far side. He was here with Omar Shaker, who Calzaghe dispatched in 5. Nothing of the sort tonight, though.
But you see again, when Joe's letting his punches go, he's most vulnerable. Caught once, time and time again, and I think Salem sees that as his best opportunity to counter his way to a world title. Another tidy-up chat.
Needs double the money tonight, doesn't he, Paul Thomas?
Yeah, well, he's the busiest man in there.
Let's get it going, okay?
And so on we go. How long will they remember that message for, I wonder? Only the 1-point deduction so far. That was for Salem in the 3rd. It's become cat and mouse this now, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's amazing what a full-blooded shot right in the chin can do to your attitude and your ambitions. I mean, Joe's been sensible here, but he's reaching with his own punches. His timing isn't great, and that's the reason he's been countered.
This is a strong man, I remind you, never stopped, this Kabary Salem, and working with those heavyweights and cruiserweights. He's prepared for a long-distance battle. He thinks the later rounds might be his territory.
See, this is better from Calzaghe. He seems to be putting his heart into it now. Before he was a bit tentative with the leads, pot-shotting from out of range. You've been asked to be countered when you do that, but he's moving in behind the punches, which is far more positive.
Let go! Let him come out, Joe. Come on and let him go.
Bound to be a bit of ring rust, I would think, as well for Calzaghe after 8 months away, no matter how much sparring and work in the gym you do. Quite a long break. He's blowing a little bit, Calzaghe, in there at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's been a rugged fight. You know, it's been action all the way through. I they've never stopped, so he's entitled to be blowing a little bit.
Strong, rough, awkward. Kabary, Salem. Again, their heads banged together on the inside. Both of them have sustained damage, unsurprisingly. More cuts here than in a budget. Good right hand to the body that time from Calzaghe. He's finding it hard to impose his class as he did early on.
That was a good punch. That was bang on the chin. Nothing wrong with Salem's chin. That was a good shot.
No shots, break clean, no shots.
Just signs that Calzaghe is slipping back into gear. Again, a good little left on the counter as Salem tried to work on the inside himself.
I think Salem's been shaken a little bit. He's quite happy to clinch and stay in there.
Calzaghe is going back to doing now what he did in the early round. There's the right hand warning again from Kabary. Salem, he has to keep his gloves up while he's doing this. Pick the shots, but that's a Calzaghe round, most definitely. There's the computer printout so far. Calzaghe landing 94 to 31, says the computer, much higher success rate.
How'd that feel? Look, stay in the room. I want you to breathe and rest.
Calzaghe landed a couple of good left hands in that round, and that was one of them, and I think it shook Salem up a little bit, so he could afford to take some chances. That was another little clip. So I think it took some of the steam out of Salem in that round. That was the beauty. That was the best punch of the round. From that point on, he could afford to take chances because there was no powerful shots coming back.
You hear me? Move the other way, Kabary. You're not moving the other way.
Well, they're sitting here absorbed by this. Look at this crowd here. Big crowd. Calzaghe having to fight away from Wales for once. He has had home advantage just about all the way through his career. Great right hand. Comes in there. That was too classy for Salem. Here's Jim's scorecard for you.
Yeah, well, the big round, as you can see, for Salem in the fourth, they're scoring the knockdown. But Joe comfortably in front, but not in command the same way he was in the early rounds.
I think this will be one he'll just want to get out of the way, and hopefully some kind of career-defining fight can eventually come up for Calzaghe. We've been saying this for so long. To be fair to him, he's been in a division which has been devoid of charisma in recent years since the defection of people like Eubank and Collins and Ben.
Yeah, it's a big pity. I mean, he should be really a superstar in status, but just as when he came on the scene, the super middleweight division dipped. There was no real quality.
Neutral corner, he says, and there's just the boots have come undone for Joe Calzaghe. Don't often see that one, do you?
I think that's the first, as a matter of fact. I don't remember seeing that before. And it was Joe himself who complained about it.
Oh, another left hand was nice shot from Calzaghe. He's always had that hand speed. If he does move up to light heavyweight, the speed will be on his side. He was due to fought Glenn Johnson, of course. You wonder how tough that might have been for him, because Johnson then went on, of course, to knock out Roy Jones. So that would have been some light heavyweight debut, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it's possible that fight's still on the cards. Well, not too many big fights at light heavyweight, so Johnson may be looking for Calzaghe in the future, but has to get through this one. But he's got things under control, you would say. There's still a struggle.
And the Roy Jones fight never happened for him either. I suppose there's Antonio Tarver as well if he does go to light heavy. He might stick around here, picking up his £500,000 a time. That's just my guesstimate, by the way, not an official figure or anything. They don't tell us that.
I mean, talent-wise, Salem really doesn't have anything to offer. He's just waiting for that single right-hand pot shot that Joe has obliged a couple of times and shown him the target. But apart from that, if Joe gets his chin down, there's not really an awful lot he has to worry about.
Kabary, Salim, let's be honest about it, he's just a wild brawler, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you can't call what we've seen tonight world class. Having said that, he seems to have dragged Joe down a couple of levels. I mean, if this was the first time you'd seen Joe Calzaghe, you wouldn't be too impressed either, but we know he's capable of much better. He's just been dragged down to Salim's level a little bit.
How did they give this guy the nickname the Egyptian Magician, for goodness sake?
Can't work that one out, I'm afraid.
Calzaghe making sure that he's going to get this guy off his radar tonight, if he can. Left hand, and that made Salim give ground. Calzaghe back to dominating the rounds now. Let's have a check on what is happening in the super middleweight division. Marcus Bayer, remarkably, has become WBC champion, the German, for the third time recently. There's Danny Green. Jeff Lacey, who the American TV people like, is now a world champion as well. He has one of the versions. That'll be a good fight, and easily to do as well. Calzaghe against Lacey, but I hear that he is going to be fighting one of Calzaghe's old victims, Omar Shaker, in December. Robin Reed is there, and I know his people want a rematch with Calzaghe. They say they're prepared to do business, whether it happens, of course.
Well, that's one thing I've never understood. Such a good fight the previous time. Why did these guys not meet again? Years ago, they had a great battle. That's a surprise. But you can see Joe, his work is scrappy here. As I said, he's dropped himself down to this guy's level, but he's beating Salim at his own game.
Calzaghe's got a big lead now, despite that nasty shot he had when he was floored by a right hand in the fourth round. Took him a long time to get his act back together after that. And it's been a different sort of fight since then.
I mean, Joe's a little bit guilty of spoiling up close himself. I mean, it's not all Salim's fault, it's the close-up action scrappy. I mean, I think that punch that Joe's taken is obviously still in his mind.
One of the bookmaking firms a week or so back had Calzaghe 40-1 on to win this fight, which was a bit of an insult to Salim. But there is a big gulf in class between them.
A bit of head rubbing again from Salim. I wonder if, well, Joe's the one being spoken to. But I thought Salim was the one there.
Corners have done a good job with the various cuts that have occurred in this fight. Running commentary from Enzo Calzaghe, boxing trainer and part-time songwriter in the corner. Nothing much very clean here at the moment.
No, I mean, it's a great pity. It's just a pity, the confidence. I mean, when Joe's confidence was high, this guy was completely under his control. He was doing pretty much as he pleased with him. It was messy, but he was bullying him all round it. He's just walked onto the right hand again. How many times is he going to make that same mistake? That is the only chance Salim has, that overarm countering right hand.
He's just falling in a little bit sometimes as he attacks, and having to take that punch, that right hand, which of course is the classic punch against the southpaw. Question for Calzaghe of keeping up his left glove.
I don't know if Salim has the same power he had earlier. You know, I think the pace here is draining him a little bit, so probably doesn't have the same power, so he won't have the same impact if he gets home with that punch. But Joe still wants to take things a bit carefully.
Well, he didn't come into the fight with a reputation as a puncher, really, Salim. I mean, only about half of his wins have been inside schedule, Jim.
Yeah, but if it's delivered properly and you catch the man coming forward, everybody can punch, and that's what happened to Calzaghe.
Yeah, sort of doubled the impact a bit too, because he was coming onto it. That was a very messy round, frankly. 2 rounds to go.
What's that?
He's so excitable, isn't he, in the corner? That nettles Nasser with his back to us here in the corner with Kabary, Salem, and they've got a guy called Nasser, name of a former Egyptian president, and a judge called Frank Cairo. We've got a big Egyptian angle here tonight, Jim.
Don't start laying down plots, Ian, for heaven's sake. I think we're fairly safe. Joe's title is fairly safe at the moment. But I think Salem's corner realise that it's not vintage Calzaghe we're seeing tonight, and they want their man really to go for it, because he will never get a better chance than tonight to defeat Joe Calzaghe, because Joe's just not really firing on all 8 cylinders.
And with all those Egyptian names that are out, maybe we should have had the fight in the Pyramid in Memphis. Here's round 11. Black trunks, remember Calzaghe. We think he's in a pretty big lead now. I think probably only a knockout could beat him. There's another sharp right hand from Calzaghe. It's not been pretty to watch. We never thought it would be, really. Not with Salem's pre-fight reputation.
I mean, Joe has tremendous achievements. I mean, unbeaten for so many years. But sometimes he's just involved in fights that don't catch fire. And I think that's the reason maybe he is not massive in the States. I know he's never gone to the States to fight, but he can still be massive. There he's taken that right hand again.
After slipping as well and losing his balance. Just lost his concentration for a moment after that. Calzaghe just got nailed by 1. Well, he does need to go and have a big fight in America, but we've been saying that a long time as well. He does have a bit of a fear of flying. Now, point off here for Calzaghe now. Who's done his share of bad work as well with the head, and a point off for him.
Well, we have been saying for a couple of rounds Joe was giving as good as he's been getting, so there you go. I wonder if that's a first. No, I think Eccles lost a couple of points as well against Salem. I was wondering if that's the first of his opponents to lose a point, but it's not.
Put it this way, it's a feature of his contest one way and another. Definitely on the scene of the crimes tonight here at the Royal Highland Centre. Just far, far too messy and Morley to be any kind of classic, this one. Oh, it was a right hand coming back there. That's a good punch from Calzaghe. That hurt Salem and stung him for a moment. And again he puts the head in, the Egyptian.
Well, that was Joe again, his chin totally exposed. This is well, we don't have a Julian Jackson type puncher in front of him tonight.
Oh God, that would have been the end of it. One of the great one punch there. He refereed him to the floor that time. No knockdown. Crowd are cheering at the back of the hall.
Well, I've got to be honest, I don't feel sorry for Salem, anything that happens to him. I mean, that was bang out of order under normal circumstances. He body slammed him. But when you think of this man's history and his tactics tonight, then you should take what he gets.
Let's be honest about it, it's pretty awful this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a spectacle at all. It hasn't caught light. Since Joe's been on the safety mode, he just hasn't committed himself properly. He's winning the fight, but as I was just beginning to say, too many Joe's performances have ended up like this, just a little bit scrappy, not really catching fire, which is maybe why he hasn't burst the American market.
Having said that, he has had some notable wins. Eubank, Woodall, Reed, Brewer, Byron Mitchell as well, but a few soft defences in there too. Getting the job done here. Now the crowd sense a moment of drama to lift them. There have been little twists and turns and moments in the fight, but a lot of it's been messy. There's a round to go. I've got Calzaghe 6 clear.
Well, we've just had a point deducted, remember.
Even with that, I've got him 6 clear.
Yeah, he's well in front. He's well in front, and the stats there are showing you why. But maybe not vintage stuff from Calzaghe. I think that bone shaker he took in the 4th round just took a little bit out of him. Now, Salem was a little bit dangerous with his head there, but then Joe gave him a little bit back, and that's when the referee decided. I mean, that was probably a 50-50 situation there. But maybe I reckon Joe's was more intentional. That's the body slam.
No sign of Calzaghe looking weight drained. I posed that question earlier. The last round of the contest, and I think they even exchanged a friendly word there. I might be mistaken.
No, I believe you're right. It's amazing how 12 rounds together can bring out the respect in each of you.
I wonder whether Salem might really go for it here in this last round. His corner, I would think, will have told him, come on, you need a knockout here. Again, good left hand from Calzaghe. And this time, there is a knockdown.
Yeah, the punch landed a couple of seconds before, but that was a delayed action shot. That's fair enough. I don't think he would have gone over if that punch hadn't landed. It was a delayed action.
It was a peach of a shot as well. Delayed action fall. That's how the referee saw it for Salem. And another left hand from Calzaghe. Can he get a last round stoppage here? Again, their heads crack on the inside. They're going to have a headache in the morning. Get out the aspirin for both of these two. I won't be joining the queue for Kabary Salem's next fight. Don't think you will either, Jim.
No, I don't think Joe Calzaghe will.
You must be wondering, what did I do to deserve getting this guy to defend my title against?
Well, on paper, when the match was made, it looked like a fairly clear-cut victory for Calzaghe, but it didn't work out like that.
No, he's really had to work for this. And he's had that nasty moment in the 4th round.
But it has shown us that the ambition is still there. He still badly wants to hang on to this title.
Fierce pride burning, and it does look, when all is said and done, as if Calzaghe will prevail again, unless there's one last sting in the tail in this fight.
I don't know if Salem has the strength now. He's on unsteady legs. Calzaghe again is pushing him around the ring, really beginning to bully him again. He's just maybe left a little bit late for the stoppage, but we still have 50 seconds or so.
In recent times, Calzaghe down against Byron Mitchell down tonight. Is he just slipping a little bit, Jim?
Well, I think that punch that put him down, I mean, it was a peach. You can't argue with that. And the fact that he got back up again and got back down to action, nothing wrong with his chin. He's shaking Salem up with that one.
Dominating this last round. Nice clean work from Calzaghe here. Just not diving in, keeping the range and firing in some nice, accurate, precise punches. He has made his extra class tell. Paul Thomas has done a pretty good job, I think, in there. It's been a busy night for him, but I think he's distinguished himself tonight, keeping good control of this as far as he can. It is all over. It will go to the judges, but we're pretty sure Calzaghe has held on to his title.
Yeah, my clear points, the points won't reflect how tough it was for Joe Calzaghe tonight. Had to work every second. Even in the early rounds when he was dominating, it was still a hard work because he was going about it in a kind of macho, the hard way, if you like. Then he had to get his thinking cap on halfway through. So all in all, it's been a tough night's work for Joe Calzaghe. Who
looks frustrated. I think he wanted to put on more of a show than he did, but another knockdown in the last round for him.
Well, that's the one that Salem argued about, but the punch had landed. There you go, that's the punch. That was a knockdown punch, although he was in the process of throwing a shot. So I think it was a fair call with the referee.
Let's have a look at what the computer is saying so far. It says Calzaghe threw nearly 400 punches, landed 147 for a 37% success rate. Salem 228, lot less. A third as many punches landed by Salem, we think, or the computer does anyway, in the contest. I'd agree with that. Much more economic. I've got him a runaway winner here, Calzaghe. It can be no doubt, Jim.
A clear winner. Again, maybe not the performance he was looking for, but he ground it out, which is the main thing.
And when you get home tonight, you'll be getting out the video to watch it all again, of course.
Well, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
No. There's Jim's card, 116 to 109. I've got it two wider than that even, with the 10-8 in the final round. But you can argue about margins, as we always say. Still collating those scorecards. Judges from the United States, the appropriately named Frank Cairo, with an Egyptian fighter in there. He's not from Cairo, he's from the United States. Renato Cadeo from Italy, Manuel Olivar from Spain, who was around last week for that European title fight with Craig Doherty. We're ready now with the decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the judge's decision. Judge Renato Cadeo scores the contest 117 to 109. Judge Frank Cairo scores the contest 118 to 107. And Judge Manuel Oliver scores the contest 116 to 109. All three judges in favor of the winner by unanimous decision. And still the WBO super middleweight champion of the world from Newbridge in Wales, the undefeated Joe Calzaghe.
Landslide margins for Calzaghe, but a difficult fight, and he now has the longest unbeaten run of any boxer in the world.
Joe Calzaghe had once again proved he had the chin to match his talent, recovering from a vicious fourth-round knockdown to pound out a convincing win over the dirty Salem and reinforce his claims that he was one of the world's greatest fighters.